Hello, everyone. This is Tom with On-Campus College Planning. I am so excited tonight to have just a great student, a fine young man. His name is Kyle. We're talking to Kyle about pivoting through the pandemic and ending up at Purdue, boiler up. I don't really know what that means, but he's got a big hammer and all of that kind of cool stuff. Some kind of mascot with a big head and a train. So we'll probably ask Kyle about that at some point too. So just as kind of an introduction, Kyle, first of all, welcome and thanks for being here. And then just tell us, give us your name, where you go to high school. We know you're a senior. We know you're almost done, but don't slack off. And then tell us what you got planned in the fall. We know where you're headed, but what are you going to study? Go ahead.
My name's Kyle Bascom. I go to Sauk Prairie High School. I played soccer, basketball, and track in high school. And so sports are a big thing for me. And I'm going to Purdue in the fall, as we already mentioned. And I'm planning on doing first year engineering, and then sophomore and senior year, I'll probably transition into either mechanical or electrical engineering.
Perfect. And what was it about Purdue that really tipped the scales in favor of that university?
So at first, I actually didn't consider Purdue at all. I just kind of applied there because I liked the idea of Purdue, and my big school was UW. And after touring UW, I really liked it a lot. But then as I started touring other schools and getting scholarships and things, I realized that Purdue is ranked really highly, and the price isn't that bad for a student from Wisconsin, as well as they had by far the best campus. No one was even close. Everything was up to date. Everything I liked was up to date. So that's kind of what they were, just better in just about every aspect, which kind of tipped the scales.
So tell us a little bit about that campus. What was it specifically? And I've been there, but it's been a long time. It's in West Lafayette. It's north of Indianapolis, an hour or so. What was it specifically about the Purdue campus that really got you excited, Kyle?
One thing that this is going to sound weird, but one thing that really tipped the scales was their gym. It's called the Cordova there. It's brand new, 4 years old or something like that. Everything is super up to date. They have 3 pools. I don't swim, but just the fact that they have pools is cool to me. But yeah, everything was up to date. They had every piece of equipment, and it was really beautiful as well.
So Purdue is the lucky Kyle Bascom sweepstakes winner, but was there a clear second choice, or were there just sort of a bunch of other schools in second place?
So yeah, going into the process, UW was by far my number one, and everything else was just kind of a backup. But then my parents had me tour everything and look at everything and really think about everything. And Purdue being ranked so high, as well as the price not being so bad and having by far the best campus, kind of tipped it over the scales. And Iowa State was actually my second one because their price was by far the cheapest. They were very generous with their scholarships with me, which I really appreciated. But I ended up choosing Purdue anyways.
Sounds great. And for those of you watching that are Iowa State, yep, that's the Cyclones. Don't mix them up. The Cyclones, it's just like a big bear hug of merit aid for folks from Wisconsin coming over there.
I also couldn't stand wearing red and yellow all the time. I don't know. And Cyclones, terrible mascot, honestly.
You just couldn't deal with that.
I couldn't do red and yellow.
Well, those are important things, and we need to think about what sweatshirts look good on me and stuff like that.
I've always looked good in black and gray, so.
Perfect. So let's go back basically a year ago. So I don't know if you remember this or not, Kyle, and I can't remember how your mom found out about me or whatever, but I think it was maybe through a rush soccer meeting or something. Yeah. And we actually, I looked this up. We did our first free consult via Zoom on April 10th of 2020. And that's a long time ago. It seems like a long time ago. A lot has happened since then. Do you remember that meeting at all? Anything that stood out, or just I just?
To be honest, I don't remember a thing. To be 100% honest, I just remember you saying kind of the process, and then kind of saying how good everything works out for all your students and everything. And yeah, I really liked how it sounded. That's really all I remember.
Well, you're a great example of why the program works. It's because people work hard and they follow the strategies, et cetera. And you've already said that you're comfortable with me sharing this. So folks, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about Kyle's numbers for the ACT. Kyle rolled out of bed on March 3rd, 2020, took an ACT after eating a bowl of cereal, didn't do any prep for it. And Kyle's a bright guy. He rocked a 28, and there are a lot of kids that would be happy with that and stop there, but Kyle's reaching higher than that. And so that's when it's like, Mom, I need some help, et cetera, like that. He eventually ended up at a 31, and he had some kind of bumps along the way. We're going to talk about that. And I think if you would have taken another shot at it, or if things would have worked out more the way we planned in terms of timing, I have no doubt that you would have hit your goal of 33, because you were just crushing it. So we started working April 17th. So about exactly a week after that free consult, we started going. And do you remember what test we were actually prepping for? Because you didn't actually take that test.
It was sometime in June, I believe, like June 7th or something.
Yeah, it was. It was like the first weekend in June or so, and we were testing for that, and we got about 2 weeks out, and there had already been an ACT canceled in April, and that was a national thing. And to date, that's the only ACT that has been totally shut down. But then they said, game on, but it's up to testing centers and municipalities and states, et cetera. And basically Wisconsin kind of shut down everything in the schools. And so then no schools were going to allow kids in until after the academic year, which ended June 30th. And so we had some pretty bad news around here and dealing with a lot of families. Do you remember me calling you on my way home from work?
I do, yeah.
What do you remember about that?
I think I just came home from a practice of some sort. I can't remember if it was soccer or something. And then my test was canceled. My parents were like, "We got to call police," or you wanted to call us or something. I honestly can't remember what happened, but I remember it was very, very stressful because I didn't think I'd be able to take the test.
It was, and I think we were like 5 out of 6 sessions in, so we were like 85% done, and you were ready to take a practice exam, and maybe you had even done that, and then the rug got pulled out. And what we agreed to do was just take a little bit of a breather and then push it into July, middle of July, and then kind of regroup and go hard for that. And you came out with flying colors, but it wasn't as easy as it might have been. Where did you actually end up taking the test?
I know we just talked about this, but I can't remember if it was Sioux City or Ames, Iowa. It was one of those two.
It's Sioux
One of them
City.
is Iowa State's campus, and the other one is where I took the test. I always mix them up.
Yeah, so Sioux City is where you took the test, and people think, oh, it's Iowa, it's not that big a deal. It's like an hour and 15 minutes, but nope. On the map, it's on the wrong side. It's on what they call the West Coast. And what else is important about Sioux City that I told you that was going to bring you good luck?
I believe you got married in Sioux City.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Got married. So, yeah, that was the perfect situation. So, when did you go over to Sioux City, and like, did you and your family rent a camper, or tell us about that a little bit?
We rented a hotel and we got there kind of late. It wasn't like too bad, but I still had to get up in the morning, and I pretty much got there wiped out instantly. We got breakfast in the morning, and that was really stressful because I remember standing in line for these donuts. Like everybody we talked to was like, "You got to get these donuts," and we stood in line for so long to get them. And then they were all right. They weren't nothing to write home about. And then I got to the test just in time. And the line, I think I stood in the line for an hour and a half trying to get in my room. We started super late because we all had to space out, and it was like the first COVID test. They'd never dealt with it, so there were issues like that. And yeah.
Wow. So kind of a perfect storm in terms of bad things. And let's back up just a little bit. So when you were bumped out of that June test, I mean, were you feeling good leading up to that, or were you stressed, or how were you feeling up till then?
Up to the June test, or
Yeah.
like after it was canceled?
Before it was canceled.
I was feeling all right. I was feeling pretty confident going into the test. I know I took a practice exam and I got a pretty good score there. I think I bombed reading on my first practice exam or something, but everything else is pretty solid, and I just had to do better on the reading.
Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate. Okay, so then let's go to that test center and that July date. Middle of July, you're in a school you've never been in before. You ate some okay donuts. The test is delayed, but then everything came out okay. Were there any other problems during that day?
Actually, during the test, it was after the break, like 5 minutes after the break, during my worst section, which was reading, and someone's phone goes off. It was buzzing on the table, and then a little notification went off. And our proctor, kind of angrily, not like screaming or anything, but just told him to put the phone away. And then they had to stay after the test. I don't know if they got DQ'd or anything. I'm just glad I didn't get DQ'd, because I don't know if it's a rumor, but I heard if a phone goes off or somebody brings their phone, everybody's test in the room got DQ'd. I don't know if that's just a thing kids say, but I was freaking out during the rest of the test, but worked out all right.
Well, it did work out all right overall, and I will say I'm looking down at your progress chart. Your July score wasn't your highest. We'll just kind of leave it at that for the reading section. So yeah, I think that kind of threw you off, and that's understandable. So so you came out with a 31. You added 3 points. That definitely helped in the application process and the merit scholarships as well. What do you think was most valuable in terms of like the strategies and lessons and working with someone else on test prep?
By far English. For me, math and science come easy because it's logical, whereas reading and English just seemed like opinionated. But you made English seem logical, like math, with the commas and the way you broke it down, and it was like as easy as 2 + 2 + 4. And I remember my English just skyrocketed. So
It did. You hit a 32. In fact, you almost beat your math score. And you're what I call a STEM dude, which means you're like a smart dude, really good in those STEM subjects. And I love it when you guys come in, to be honest, with low English scores, because I'm like, man, we're gonna jack that thing up. And I see a lot of 8, 10, 12 point gains. And a lot of times guys like you, and that's a big broad category. You're very different and very unique, but you share some characteristics with some other guys that I've worked with, and you come in and you basically bring that English up where it's kind of looking at the math and just sort of smiling and nodding as well, which is good. Those are the easiest points when you get up the path. Those are the easiest points on the test. Anything else that you want to just share about, like, how you overcame the ACT?
I don't know. Just I wish I practiced reading a bit more. And I remember practicing science with you as well, and you bumped my score up to, I believe, a 36, a perfect score on science, and that was very, very helpful. I don't know what you did there. I can't remember anything. I just remember science clicking very easily. But
Well, it was partly hypnosis and other things too. But no, it was, yeah. I'm looking down at a 36. You were averaging, Kyle. You were averaging a 35 in science, and you hit a perfect 36 on your practice exam. So I'm sure I was all confident or whatever. But like those are hard. That's hard to repeat because a couple, like 3 questions where you just off a little bit, or you look at the wrong line on the graph or something, and those really high numbers can kind of come back down really quickly. But you kept it up there. You had a 33 in reading, 32 in English, 22 in reading, a little bit down, but yeah, really, really good numbers. So congratulations on that. All right. And then you finished in July and you're like, I'm done with this thing. It took longer than I wanted to, but I'm good. And then you started working with someone else, someone on your applications and essays. Tell us a little bit about that.
so yeah, I worked with your wife Hillary on my essays, and that was so helpful. I was so stressed about my essays. My big thing was just once I get a couple sentences on paper, I'm fine. And I went in there, and I remember she came up with my topic sentence in like 5 minutes. I loved it. I threw that sentence in my paper, and I wrote the rest of the paper very easily. And I just can't get that first sentence down. The fact that she was able to do it so quickly was extremely helpful. And then giving me the layout for the UW essay as well was also very helpful. Once I had that layout, I wrote it very easily, and I feel like I did pretty well in my essays.
So wait a minute, Kyle. Are you saying that you hired someone to write your essays for you? Is that what you're saying?
Not at all. No, she just helped me out, made me write it, and she really just kind of used my ideas and just helped me get a few sentences on paper so I get the rest going.
So Kyle, I'm curious. Do you remember what the theme of your Common App personal statement was?
So yeah, me and my family, as well as an organization here in Sauk called 6-8, helped start a charity called Feed My Starving Children, or we a subgroup of that charity called Sauk Pray Against Hunger from Feed My Starving Children, and it's a pack event, and it booms every year. We raise about $55,000 every year. So that's what my essay was about, just the process of starting that, the leadership things that I've learned from it, which are absolutely huge in my life. I've learned so much from that organization, and that's what I wrote my essay about.
Sounds fantastic. What do you think the biggest benefit of working with Hillary through the application and essay process was?
Just getting that first sentence down. Once I got that topic sentence, everything else just came so easily.
So what I'm hearing is Kyle Bascom, once you get him the first sentence, he's good. And if you turn English into math, he's good with that as well. Good. Yeah, we try to make this very personalized, and sometimes things just line up. So one thing that we didn't help you with, we talked about colleges, but you didn't hire us to help you with the college search process. And you guys were working on that on your own, and you clearly did a fantastic job. So tell me a little bit about, maybe even going back to when you really started to kind of look around. We know that UW was, very familiar, great school, great option, a real known commodity. But how did you start kind of adding colleges to the list? When did Iowa State come on? When did Purdue? When did other schools come on?
Yeah, I just think I sat down with my dad one day and we just started brainstorming colleges. And I just picked the ones I've watched in sports. So mostly Big Ten colleges, Penn State, basically everybody but Iowa State or Ohio State in the
Mhm.
Big Ten. And then I added Iowa State as well because they're ranked fairly highly, as well as fairly cheap for how far away they are.
That sounds great. And let's kind of go back a little bit, and let's just think maybe back to when you were a little shorter and a little bit younger and not shaving and things like that. So go back to maybe your freshman year or sophomore year. You got a year under your belt, and you're playing sports. Maybe you're playing some varsity sports or something. What kinds of things did you not know at the time about the whole college search and application process, or what would you have liked to know maybe as a sophomore?
Well, I thought you had to get like a 34 on your ACT to get into UW and things. So that's something I really wish I didn't stress out as much about. And yeah, I wish I also thought more about campuses and college rank and price earlier because I was just thinking about close to home. I was just thinking UW is 30 minutes away from my house. And that was the only thought that ever went through my brain. And once I got to that junior year and started touring campuses and looking at ranks and price and things like that, that's when it all really started to fall into place.
Now, you were sharing earlier that you had a pretty special campus tour at Purdue. Tell us about that.
So yeah, my dad, a guy he used to work with, and they're really good friends now. But a guy he used to work with used to live in Indiana, and he has three cousins that went to Purdue, and they were willing to give me a tour. So like, I don't know these people at all. They're clearly very, very distant. I don't know if you were able to track all that, but they were awesome. One of them graduated fairly recently. The other two graduated somewhat further away or longer ago, and they were willing to give me the tour. They were very honest. Told me the things that a college tour guide wouldn't actually tell you. They literally actually just told you everything because they went there and they weren't forced to be honest like a college tour guide would have to be. And it was very, very helpful.
So forced to be honest is an interesting phrase, but like, what do you think you got from them that was different than, because you did go on some other campus tours and things. So obviously it was more personal. Were they just sharing more of their own personal experiences or anecdotes or what?
So yeah, one of them was a bit of a troublemaker. They were all completely opposites. One of them was a complete goody goody, so he told me what he went through. The troublemaker told me what happens if you get in trouble and things like that, and some of the fun stories he did, which were absolutely hilarious. I remember one time he said, "Right here, I caught a squirrel and I spray painted it orange." So he was clearly a bit of a troublemaker, and they told me things like that, as well as where the frats are, what frats to avoid, and things like that, which I'm sure. A college tour guide wouldn't tell you because they're not supposed to tell you anything bad about the college, but they were very honest, which made it feel like a real campus unlike my other tours.
That sounds great, and that's just a great example of reaching out to people that we know, and anybody that can kind of give you some personal experience and just make it more personal, obviously, and see it in a really different light. So you don't have any younger siblings, correct?
Right.
All right, let's say you've got a younger cousin, and like she or they is like 14, 15, 16, or somebody that's just watching this maybe right now. What advice would you give to them as they're just kind of starting, or if they're in their first part of high school? What advice would you give to them about high school, about colleges, about anything?
With high school, just have fun, enjoy it while you can, and take those AP classes. Don't try and coast because you don't want to have senioritis. I have so many friends that have like one class right now, and they're so lazy. Like I tell them that all the time as like a joke, just like you're so lazy, bro. But yeah, take those harder classes. And my friends also wish they took those AP classes. I just like joking with them. So make your high school hard and also enjoy it as much as possible, as well as don't stress out about your ACT. And when you're picking a college, don't pick the one that's closest to home. Really just pick the one that fits you best.
That sounds great. That sounds great. So, as we kind of wrap up here, um, I've had the pleasure and the honor of meeting your parents a couple of times. You guys are a great family. It's been really fun to work with, and I've had a lot of connections and contact with them. Um, how how did we, Hillary and Tom, and on-campus college planning, what was the benefit you say to your family, to your parents, of kind of outsourcing this versus trying to help you write your essays over the kitchen table, or your dad showing you some math problems and things like that?
For me, it's kind of just taking a load of the stress off because I know I have a date where I'm going to get it done. So, like, I don't have to do it on some Saturday and then I wake up that Saturday and I watch YouTube for 3 hours or something and then I don't want to do it, you know? I have a date where I know I'm going to get it done. So it just takes that stress off where I'm not waking up every weekend thinking I have to write an essay, you know? And that's huge for me, just knowing I have a date. And then getting that first sentence down was absolutely huge. Like, I can't stress enough how much that first sentence helped out.
Great, great. So what do you have lined up for this summer?
I am going to Purdue this summer. For the summer start. I don't know the date. I think it's like July 7th or something like that. And so I'm going there pretty early. I'll get a couple classes in the summer, and then they have something called BGR where it's a week of only freshmen. Boiler Gold Rush is what BGR stands for, and they just kind of show you around campus. It's all games and things. So that's what I'll be doing at Purdue this summer, as well as working at Menards in Baraboo.
Perfect. And so, do you already have your roommate lined up?
I don't. I'm actually looking for a roommate, which would be awesome. So if you are going to Purdue and you think you'd fit well with me, that'd be absolutely awesome. Just please feel free to reach out.
There you go. Contact Tom at On Campus College Planning, and I'll make the connection there. Hey, Kyle, thank you very much for sharing your story. The title that we came up with is kind of cheesy, pivoting through the
Always
pandemic.
better when it's cheesy. Yeah.
Yeah, to Purdue, but it really is, and I can't stress how proud I am of you, of how hard you worked, and how you took things in stride. I'm sure it wasn't all smiles and giggles on the home front at times, but you're a warrior. You never gave up, which is why you're a good student, good athlete, good kid, etc. And I still want UW to beat Purdue, but if Purdue wins, I'll at least think, my boy Kyle, he's having a good night tonight. So does that sound fair?
Sounds fair.
All right. Any last comments you want to share with our
I
audience?
don't think so. I think we covered just about everything.
Is there a secret handshake, or what do we do when we say boiler up? Do we just say it?
I don't know, to be honest. I haven't been there yet. I'm sorry.
Okay, so here I'm gonna say 1, 2, 3, and we're just gonna like say boiler up.
Boiler
Okay.
up. Yeah.
And then we're gonna be done. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Boiler up.
Boiler up. All right. Goodbye, everyone.